It is time for everybody's favorite segment across the entire IWC, and it is called Dave Meltzer's Dumb Moment of the Week. So Wave Seltzer had this to say back in 2021 on Seth Rollins in 2019. So this is like Time Cop. It's like Time Cop. So we're going back to 2021 to talk about something in 2021, but we're talking about something that happened in 2019, but now it's in 2025 where we get an update. So it's kind of like we're in 2019 and 2025 and 2021 when AEW was at its peak. Time Cop. So Meltzer talks about Rollins in 2019, but he does it in 2021 about fake blood and how it's gross, and there's nothing more gross and fake than fake blood to me, Brian. So let's listen to what Meltzer said back in 2021 about Rollins in 2019.
Anthony Ogogo versus
Time Cop.
Austin Gunn. They actually let Austin Gunn survive one of the punches to the gut. They actually did a quick spot early. He gets punched in the gut. He survives that one. He gets hit another time.
Too. There was the third one that finished him.
And finally, it was a pop-up punch that ended it. And then Cody hit the ring with the American flag. Ogogo grabs it. He throws it up in the air. Cody furiously tries to not let it touch the ground. And we had the big stare down afterwards. So, match is on.
Obviously they're protecting Anthony Ogogo. They're doing the Nikita Koloff thing with him, except the British Nikita Koloff, and not with the body, but with the punch instead of the Russian.
Oh my God. Yeah, we get it, Dave. Except for he's British. That's in the UK, Brian.
Sickle, but the same build.
They speak Britanese over there. I study the business.
And
I study the Britons, Brian.
I tell you what, I thought, this was very, very short, but Austin Gunn did a good job here. Real good job.
We had Alex with Daniels and Kazarian, and he wants.
Okay, so what is Meltzer said what on about here? Let's play this clip. Blood and guts.
So I think he's trying to do the same thing and to get them to, and then go in there and go, you sponsors, you don't want to be sponsoring these guys because they're going to be doing blood and guts. And while at the same time, there's nothing more like.
Oh, here, this was the clip we were getting at. So that was just more goofy Meltzer, I guess. But this is the clip I was talking about.
It's fake blood. But to me, there's nothing more gross when it comes to the blood than the idea. I mean, there's no more blood and guts than a guy coughing, throwing up blood, which is what he did out of the mouth. To me, that's more graphic and brutal than a head cut, because you see head cuts.
So Dave is literally saying when Rollins, was coughing up blood, that's literal blood and guts, and there's nothing grosser than that. But their show's just called Blood and Guts, Brian. So who cares? That's what he's getting at here. This is in 2019.
In every sport, every combat sport, there's guys bleed from the head all the time. But coughing up blood, you don't see guys cough up blood in boxing matches, and if they do, they would stop the match immediately. Or in
Dave, that is not true. Like, okay, maybe if you're coughing up blood, like fake the way Kenny Omega was, like an alien's about to burst out of your chest. Yes, but Dave, people get hit with body shots and spit blood up all the time. How do you just say some shit like that?
In MMA fights. So to me,
you see that shit all the time. You just don't know because like their nose is also bleeding. But Dave, yes, people piss blood after sparring, after just doing body shot training, and toughening your midsection up. You'll go and piss blood that day, Dave. Take a kickboxing class. Maybe some Taibo, Brian.
That's a lot more, as far as on the brutal side than anything, than a bloodbath pro wrestling match. But whatever, it's all the same. I mean, it's either you're doing graphic blood or you're not, and blood streaming from a guy's mouth is graphic blood either way.
And he said there's nothing grosser. I think it's the grossest, right? So then listen to what he has to say about, let's contrast it now to what he had to say about Kenny Omega in this moment, where, who was it, Awful made it look like he was in a pie eating contest. Holy shit, was that hilarious, dude. It was one of the funniest things ever. Now let's read what Dave writes about. Brian Alvarez also tweeted out, he's like, oh, it was fantastic. It was sensational. Dave had this to say in the Observer. It also should be noted that 4 days after McMahon said this, he produced a graphic. Oh, he doesn't compare it, but maybe we have a comparison later. But Alvarez was like, it was a fantastically done angle. So again, Dave won't be appalled by this, but even in the Observer, look what he wrote about Rollins. He produced a graphic bloody angle involving Rollins and Lesnar that was blood and guts as possible. See, and then this is how you know he's a fucking shill. So even back then, he's going, well, this was as blood and guts as possible, reader. So if you're offended by blood and guts over there, this is real life blood and guts. He's such a fucking redact, man. It drives me nuts, bro. He's just old and senile. That's why I feel bad. He's got to really tap out. Just pass it to Brian. Seth Rollins and Lesnar, that was a blood and guts as possible. Not a simple blade job and facial blood like you would see literally any night watching a combat sport like MMA or boxing, but a beating with Rollins coughing up blood and the portrayal of internal bleeding, which is the ultimate in blood and guts, which is the ultimate. I am the ultimate, which is the ultimate in blood and guts. Dave, so he's just making up artificial rules. If you cough up blood, that's real blood and guts. So why aren't you outraged at that? This fake blood and guts over here is just the name of a show, and they're just going to cut their own heads. And then a year later, they're going to fucking stab needles through themselves and then do exploding super boots and thumbtack kicks. What the fuck, Dave? You're an idiot. Oh my God. Whether his motive was to spook TNT into restrictions that he won't have and thus he can go farther. The same thing was happened during the Monday Night Wars when McMahon had a few restrictions on USA, and until advertisers started complaining, he had to tone down. So look at the difference too. So here's Rollins spitting up some blood back then. That's blood and guts, Brian. Here's Omega. He looks like fucking a xenomorph is about to fucking burst out of his chest and start fighting with a predator. Dave is such a fucking idiot. I love doing these little dissections of him. And Shadow Meltzer said, what? My fucking brada. Okay. And so here's how Dave actually compared the shit. This is his, well, he doesn't compare it, but this is his review now. So we looked at all the reviews of the Omega stuff. We looked at the Pitt and the Rollins stuff, rather, how he reacted to that. It's blood and guts, Godzooks, Brian. We compared the two bloody pictures of who's spitting up blood and what's real blood and guts and what amount and what quantifies as what. We went over all the past stuff. We're caught up now. Here's what he has to say about Kenny's angle here, this pie eating contest looking blood spitting up angle here.
And he again asks, why is this match not involving Takeshita or Fletcher? And Kenny says, cut the shit, dude. We've heard enough. I've been there, done that. I've beaten them. If they want a shot at the belt, they got to get in line like everything else. This match is me and Okada. There's no trick in your book you can pull to ruin that. No. Don says, well, kid, you didn't know this one, did you? And Okada jumps Omega from behind. He beats him down. Callis throws in a police baton. Okada hits him right in the guts and the diverticulitis. The fans chant, you sold out. Okada goes up top, and he actually jumps for the flying elbow, lays him out on the stretcher. Chris Daniels runs down to the ring as they're trying to stretcher Omega out.
You know it's bad when you're like, oh, Okada jumped, guys. Isn't it celebratory time? And listen to how he's just marking out over this shit. Now, it wasn't bad, but like just the story behind, you can't mark out this hard when the story's been this bad. And Okada joining the Callis family, why? And then Kenny sold it that cheesy. I'm sorry. It just, I don't know why you'd geek out this hard about this.
Okada ends up dropping old Daniels, and then he gets on the apron, and he hits a flying elbow off the apron onto Omega on the stretcher. And Omega does this absolutely disgusting vomiting up blood spot all over his white shirt. The place is gasping. They're freaking out. Alex Marvez runs after Okada and Callis as they're leaving. Don is screaming, they're going to kill us. We got to get out of here. And they jump in this vehicle. They just zoom out of there. They actually showed a replay of this later in the show. It's like, oh my God. They got everything I've been asking for years, all in one segment.
Yeah, WWEing it up, TV formatting, Hollywooding it up. And now the sickos love it. It was amazing, Brian.
gotta make use of that stuff.
This was an incredible angle. And like,
They gotta make use of that stuff. Yeah, do a real angle for once. Fuck.
it's just great because now Don Callis is involved. He's back with Kenny Omega. He's trying, he's going to screw him one last time.
Why? Why is that great? We've seen that a million times already. We want to see him just move on with his faction and get them gold like he keeps promising them. You guys, man.
He's got Okada. Omega's injured. Oh, man. I loved it. It was great.
And also sets up Okada and Takeshita to have a split.
At some point, that's coming, yeah.
Yeah.
It sets up Okada and Takeshita to have a split so that they can wrestle each other. It sets that up. No, it doesn't. Well, kind of. But this is what I mean. It's just fantasy 2K mark booking. Well, we just want to see Okada, Takeshita. That should be where we're heading, and Okada should be laying down for Takeshita, not rehashing this old shit that New Japan marks were into 10 years ago.
And Takeshita to have a split.
At some point, that's coming, yeah.
Yeah.
We had Kyle Fletcher and Anthony Bowens with that.
And so why did Okada leave the Bucks, though? That without reason, that automatically makes this trash. But no mention of that's real blood and guts, Brian. It's appalling. How could they do this? So Meltzer said, I'm shocked to learn that the fake max numbers BJ Bethel put out that we all knew were fake, that all the Stan media knew were fake, were in fact fake. And then Mr. Nobody says, brother, if you think they aren't doing well on Max, just look at the WWE counter programming. They're doing that because Nick Khan knows the real numbers. This guy's in tune. So again, just a fucking idiot. And then Dave Meltzer goes, Nick Khan doesn't know the real numbers. I know better than anyone how much he knows about the media landscape. But if Tony Khan and Adam Silver doesn't know, how is Nick Khan going to know? And then meanwhile, Dave won't corroborate Bethel, but then Bethel says Dave corroborated him and fucking Tony Khan did. But here's the fucking problem is that Meltzer claims that Tony doesn't know the numbers either. So it's a incestuous clusterfuck of douchebags just telling fucking lies. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Lying to each other and pushing this shit out, and a bunch of sickos are just repeating this dumb shit. But anyways, he says, but if Tony Khan and Adam Silver don't know, how is Nick Khan going to know? Yeah, no, you're right. On Dave Meltzer's ratings for Worlds Collide, Octagon Jr., Mr. Iguana, and Aerostar versus Dragon Lee, Lince Dorado, and Cruz del Toro, 4.25. Stephanie Vacker and Lola Vice and Lola Vice versus Dalis and Chick Tormenta, a 2 stars. Santos Escobar, Angel Humberto versus Cycle Clown, Pagano, and El Hijo, 3.5. Ethan Page versus Phoenix versus Javon versus Laredo, 4.5. El Hijo versus Gable, 4.75. Now, I mean, I like the El Hijo Gable match, but he rates this higher than Hogan The Rock at Mania 18. It just doesn't math. We know we caught you, but at least he's being fair with his ratings, I guess. You don't know it's fair because he just makes shit up. Ron Killings was negotiating with other companies as late as last Wednesday. He just wants everyone to think, and BJ Bethel said this, truth was going to AEW. No. Bethel talks to Meltzer. Meltzer says he was negotiating with other companies Wednesday. Bethel's a redact, so he goes, that was AEW. And then Dave has to come out and go, well, he was talking to TNA. Probably wasn't talking to any of them. Or maybe he was, but he wasn't answering for WWE. It's all good. None of that matters right now, but it's just Dave getting it in idiots' heads. This is how he does this. He says something dumb to Bethel, and then Bethel just runs with it. And then Dave has to go, I don't corroborate. Actually, I meant TNA, Brian. So Mr. Iguana reportedly had backstage heat. This according to Dave. Mr. Iguana had backstage heat for his recent comments about skipping NXT and going straight to the main roster. And then listen to this. So Dave gets caught lying here, okay, about Mr. Iguana. He was reportedly brought into NXT this past week to sign a new deal with the company. So Dave, liar! He has heat with the company and they brought him in to secure a deal? Liar! What? Tell us what you know, you goddamn liar! Hey, he has heat with us, but he's here to secure a deal, but you should know that he has heat with saying he's going to skip the... I mean, I guess both things could be true. But, okay, why the fuck? You're just making up he got heat, or whoever told you that said he has heat, or they mean like he has heat as in he's heating up, bro, and he's tip-top into the sale charts and shit. Like, or what is heat? Oh, they told him just don't say that again. I just don't know what Dave's saying. So, and then even Cultaholic, like they're quoting Dave here in bold letters. Mr. Iguana had heat backstage. And then the next thing, why isn't this emboldened? He was reportedly brought into NXT to sign a new deal with the company. Why didn't you embolden that? Cultaholic, you fucking geeks. I don't know why they don't. Well, we know why. They love Dave, man. But it's like, why don't you guys just shoot straight? Those are two separate posts, at least. You have heat with us, but let us sign you up. So then Dave has this to say. There are reportedly issues from one side due to the Miz and AEW talent, Wardlow and Camille, being featured on American Gladiators. Why would there be heat? WWE doesn't care. Wardlow and Camille they're going to sign them, and they're not on AEW TV ever. So why do they give a fuck? There's heat from one side. Yeah, Dave. Tony texted you melting down, or you're lying about this. WWE don't give a fuck, right? Miz might not even work there much longer. But yeah, so Julian Weeks points this out. Like, did he have heat, or was he brought in to get a contract, bro? I mean, I guess two things could be true, but why did they embolden the one part and shit? It's just stupid. So Ospreay versus Swerve Strickland at Summer Blockbuster got 5.25 stars. And I just respond to this. I say, Dave Meltzer claims these are objective star ratings, and that's what he claims. That's why when people go, oh, why do you care? Because he claims it's objective, bro. And it's not. We want to point out it's not. So I write, these are objective ratings, and he scored things he doesn't necessarily like higher when it's warranted. The only criteria he's ever given over the years is that it's based on how the crowd is moved and reacts. So the crowd was moved more during this than Hogan versus Rock at Mania 18 or RVD versus Cena at ECW One Night Stand to get 5.5. That's what I just don't get. It's okay. Just because Ospreay gets all his moves in doesn't mean it's a 5-star match, Dave. And that's why we know you just base it on moves. In regards to Ron Killings' return, WWE didn't want fans hijacking shows and felt the best thing to do was to bring him back. So again, it's all just negative doom and gloom. Maybe this is true. I'm sure that's one aspect of it, but I don't think they care, man. They let Punk go for like 10 years without them worrying about that. So Dave Meltzer just trashes Tony Khan here and says, in 2025, people blame major booking decisions on the writers. Hint, the writers don't make those decisions. Yeah, so we should blame the fucking booker. And especially when the booker says, I'm the booker, lead creative writer, CEO, and GM. Oh, wait, Dave, you won't do that. The best guy is Tony Khan. That's why you're a dumb fuck, because you just stooged yourself and what you really think. Okay, a Freudian slip where you're fucking a Freudian slip where you are, what's the word, chat? Where you are just, exactly. It should be on the bookers. Yep. So the bad booking, that's why Tony Khan can't be the booker of the year. Idiot. You just said it yourself because you're a dumbass, and that's why I will always roast you, Dave. And that was Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week. Stooging his own friends, man, making him look bad. Hey, Dave, you said it right there, not me, dude. You said it right there. So when you try and lie the other week, well, Tony Khan's the best booker. Well, look at what's on the TV, bro. You know, good for me, not for the ass.